to Denelli Chic Handmade, and today we're going to make this really cute red and green. I call it an elf hat because it's just adorable. It's double knit, has a really cute pom-pom. So to get started, what you're going to need is a green yarn. I'm using the Hobby Lobby I Love This yarn, and the color is Jelly Bean. I'll also be using the Red Heart Soft, which is called Really Red. This is a great yarn for the machine. I'll be using a pom-pom maker, and there's several videos out there. You don't have to use a pom-pom maker. There's been some instructions on how to use 2 pieces of cardboard. I'll post a link to a couple different options and ways to make them. I'll be using a darning needle and a pair of scissors. I'll also be using my 48-pin Sentro machine. I like using that machine for hats because it makes them just a little bit wider, and it's perfect for if you have a little bit of a bigger head or you just want a little bit more room. This Sentro machine is great. So I'm going to get my machine together and get started on this video. Thanks. So I have my 48-pin Sentro machine ready. I'm going to get to the starting hook. I'm gonna cast on. Now to cast on, just put my yarn on the first, under the first hook, skip the next hook, go to the next one, and do every other stitch. Make sure it goes underneath the hook on every other stitch. My machine, the first couple of rows, it's always a little clanky, but then it runs nice and smooth. So again, I'm going under every other stitch. And what I like to do is take a look and make sure that these are all evenly spaced to make sure I didn't miss a stitch. And go ahead and put this in my yarn holder. And I have a little guide here. Put this in the second hole or the middle hole. Put my counter on 0. I'm going to start cranking my yarn. Now the first color I'm using is the red. In the first couple of rows, I like to do it nice and slow and watch. The little tail here, I'll pull it to keep it nice and tight. And again, I'm just going to keep cranking. And I'm going to crank like this for 45 rows. And as you can see, it's running nice and smooth. I'm keeping a nice close eye. And I will meet you when I get to the 45th row and show you how to add the next color. Thanks. I'm on the final row of the red yarn after doing 44. Now I'm almost on 45. And I'll just wait until that starting hook comes up. I'm going to cut my yarn, place it on the inside. I'm going to get my green yarn ready. Oops. And put it in the guide here and put it in the middle hook. And you should see a picture that I showed. Now when I get to after I do the first row, I'll tie these together so that there's no hole. And I like to do one knot and then I do a surgeon's knot to make sure nothing comes apart. Let me just trim it a little bit. Get some of my green yarn out, pull it out of the skein. And I'm going to just, I watch this for a few rows, watch how the green, make sure it's nice and snug in here, none of the stitches come popping out. Now I am going to do 50 rows of the green. Now what that does is it makes a nice wide brim so that when you roll it over like this, you actually have, instead of a double knit around your ears, you actually have quadruple knit. So it's really, really warm hat. You can also make Santa hats using the same pattern. And the Santa hats are fun. This I call the elf hat. You could also make it in a light blue and white to give it a different variation for Christmas hats. And you can make these in any colors, and they're just wonderful hats. You'll get a lot of compliments on how well they were made. I'm gonna continue to crank the green, like I said, for 50 rows. So it was 45 for the red, 50, actually, no, excuse me, it's actually 55 rows for the green because I'm gonna get to, my row counter will be at 100 when I'm done. So I apologize, so it's 45 for the red and 55 for the green. So I'm gonna continue to crank until I get to my 100th row, and then we'll add the red again. And I'll see you when I get closer to the 100th row. Thank you. Okay, so I'm almost on the 100th row. And one of the things I like to do as I'm working, as this hits the bottom, I don't have a hole in my table. So I like to roll this up so that it gets out of the way and it doesn't get caught up in anything. So I'll just roll it. And it also helps with the putting a little weight on the machine so that it doesn't, so it pulls it down. I'm on row 98. I have a couple more rows to get to 100. That's 99. And one more row. We'll get to 100. And I'm just waiting for the white hook to come up. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it like I did before when I added the green. And now I'm going to add my red again. Add it into the guide here. And put it in the center tension guide. And slowly add on my stitches. Make sure that each of them goes underneath the hook. And again, the first row or so, I like to keep an eye on it, just to make sure that none of the stitches come up, because that would mean we would have to fix it. Okay, so here we are. I'm gonna tie these, do a 1 loop, and then do the surgeon's knot, which is 1 and 2. I like the surgeon's knot because there's less chance of it coming undone at some point. And trim it. And now I'm going to crank for a bit just to make sure that all my stitches are staying in place. And here, for the final stretch, I'm going to do 50 rows of the red. And again, this makes the total length, or the total number of stitches for rows for this hat is 150 rows. So it's 45 red, 55 green, and then 50 red. And it makes a really nice hat, great for someone with a larger head, or it actually fits all, you know, I would say medium, large, and extra large. And because, and you can wear it slouchy, you could, you know, when the brim is doubled up, it's super, super warm for your ears. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue to crank till I get to row 50. And then, actually I'm gonna go to row 149 because the final row will be the cast off row. They'll make it 150. So I'll meet you when I get closer to the end. And we'll work on the casting off and we'll work on the pom-pom. Thanks. I'm on row 147. And as you can see, it's coming along really nicely. This is my 148. And I'm just going to get to 149 because my final row will be the cast off row. So I'm going to cut a nice piece of yarn. So I could start casting off. And there goes my grandfather clock. So we have a little background music. Okay, so now I'm gonna start casting on. I have my darning needle. I'm gonna slowly start turning my handle, and very carefully, I'll keep my finger here while I'm pulling because I don't want any of the other stitches to come out. I'm gonna start picking up each of the stitches. And again, I'm gonna keep my finger here to hold this down so it doesn't come out. I do this for a little bit because it's a little tight on here and you don't wanna let it pop up because again, it'll start unraveling and you won't be very happy. So I'm gonna gently move forward. And as it goes, you can see it's getting a little looser here so I can pick up a few or a couple. And again here, I'm gonna keep picking up stitches. And always be very gentle on this part. Don't pull it, don't go too fast. You don't wanna lose any of your stitches. So as you're turning, I like to go ahead a little bit. Keep my hand here to keep these stitches down. Now that it's a little looser here, now you can pick up a few more at a time. As you can see, nice and gentle. And as I'm picking them up, I keep my finger here and I pull on my string. Again, rotate. I can go ahead a little bit further each time. Nice and gentle, picking up all my stitches. And if you don't have any darning needles like this with the little curve, there's a link in the bottom and it'll show you where you could get some. Yeah, that's where I bought mine and I absolutely love them. They come in a little pack with a little holder. I have some other links too of things that I like the crochet hooks that I like to use. I'm simple, I like just to use the Susan Bates crochet hooks. And also this little stitch markers that I like to use when I need them. Some yarn, and the machine, I actually have links to the machines if you're interested, if you don't have one already. I put some links on where you could get one. And these machines are absolutely wonderful. I have this machine and I have the Addi. The Addi is a little bit better made, but the Sentro, or they have some other, I guess, versions of the Sentro. They look exactly the same, only the name on the front doesn't say Sentro. It says some Miyoki or some other name on there. It's exactly the same. And what's nice about the Sentro is you get 2 more pins. And it works really well, and it's so cost effective because the Addis can be a little bit pricey, where these can range from $50 to $80. And I have to tell you, I've had my machine now for about, I want to say about a year and a half. And I have probably made, I want to say at least 100 hats on it, and it still works great. Okay, so I moved my machine, and here's my hat. Just stretch it out. And as you can see, it's just a tube right now. And there's no crocheting involved in this pattern, so that's nice if you're not a crocheter. Just cinch up the end. Just pull the yarn. Get your darning needle, sew it up. And this hat's fun. This is a new design that I'm now selling on. I sell it on eBay and Etsy. I've had a few orders on it. It's very cute. And I also sell a Santa Claus hat, which is fun to make. On the Santa Claus hats, I use faux fur pom-poms instead of making the actual pom-pom. I'm just gonna leave this string here and see if I need it. I'll leave that there. It's better to have it than to not. Flip this around, sew up the other end. I have to tell you, these knitting machines are great. You can make so many neat things. I always feel like I have new ideas popping into my head and things I want to try. Okay, so now what I like to do is fold it, and as you can see, one side of the red is longer than the other, and that's on purpose. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to fold it, and the shortest side, I'm going to pop it in. Okay, and then with the string, just like to go through all the plies of yarn and push it through so that it stays attached. And do it again. And then again. I don't want anything coming undone. Okay. Just gonna slip this through the double layers, which is really nice. You don't have to worry about that. And cut it. And now we still had that other one in the bottom on the underside. I'll just slip that through the 2 plies. Whoops. Oh, don't you hate when that happens? Let me just do this. I didn't grab it all. We'll just cut it. This kind of reminds me of when my husband watches car shows. He always jokes that they'll be in the middle of working on a car, they cut to commercial and it's done. They never have any problems, they never run into rusty bolts, and at least you can see that you can run into problems and you just work through them. So now, basically, as you can see, this is our hat. It's got a nice wide rim. It's double knit. Now that my hat's done, I'm gonna make the pom-pom. I'm gonna use a Clover pom-pom maker. I think this is like a size medium. I'll post a link to it below so that if you, just in case you don't have one, and there are other ways you can make them. So what's neat about this is it opens up. You open up half, there's 2 halves actually. So you start with the 1 half. You hold your 2 strands together, and what, again, this will give you a very, multicolored pom-pom. And you just start winding. When you first start, it's a little bit odd holding it because they're not really together, and you just keep winding away with 2 of them at the same time, both of your colors. And you wind, 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 wind. Now, the more you wind, the denser your pom-pom will be. So I just like to wind this up till it feels about right. Just keep winding, 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 and this looks like it's pretty good. And I can usually tell when I put it in here, you can see how much space it's filling up. And I'll cut this side. Then I'm going to repeat this for the other side. And get a little bit of my red out, getting close to the end of my red yarn. Okay. Again, I'm going to repeat this on the other side, red and green. Hold it together and just start winding. And there's no magic tricks to this, just wind away. There's no right or wrong way. You just kind of want to make sure that it's even across the little half moon crescent here. And just winding. Winding, winding, winding. And I've never really made a bad pom-pom. It's really, this is so easy to use. And there we go. I think this is about right. Here we go. Okay, go ahead and cut this. And here we have, it's wound up. Now you take your scissors and right in between the two layers, you just start cutting away. You're just kind of getting an idea how it looks. Again, the other side, cut away. And then I'll take a piece of red yarn, or you could use green, I'm just gonna use red. I'm gonna slip it between the two layers here. You wanna make sure you tie it up really good, so nice and tight. If you don't do it tight, your pom-pom could come apart. And then just flip this over on the other side. And you wanna tie it again. Nice and tight, and then tie it again, and then do it a third time. And you keep the strings a little bit long because this is how we're going to attach it to the hat. Okay. Now I'm just going to open this up, open this side up, and separate them. And I have my pom-pom. Now you can see there's some scraggly bits on it. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a haircut, just to make it more even. See? Sometimes I'll take a brush too. Just kind of brush it out just to give it a little bit more, to separate some of the little yarns. So it gives a little bit of a fluffier look. And that's it. You got a hat and a pom-pom tutorial all in one. So then I'm just gonna use my hook for a crochet hook, just to slip this through. Makes it easier. You could use your darning needle if you don't have a hook. And just bring this through. So you push it through to the other end. And then that's your one. And then you still have another string here. Oops, get into the center. And we'll push this through. I'll go back to the inside of the hat, have my two strings and tie them together. Slip my yarn through the two layers. And that's it. You pretty much know how to make it now. If you have any questions, and here it is. This pom-pom's a little bit smaller than the other one. And here you go, how to make a green elf hat. Now this would also be cute with a tassel, a long tassel. Again, you can make these in any colors. Please like and subscribe my channel. I get really excited when I see more and more subscribers. I'll be trying to add new patterns every week. And thank you so much for joining and for watching my video. Have a wonderful day.